Hi all, it's Glenn here from Family Ancestry Media, and we're here in Colwyn Bay Cemetery and Crematorium, and today we're here because there's a famous actor, or should I say famous-ish actor to a lot of people, who had his funeral here and was cremated at the cemetery here. Now there's no guarantee that his ashes were interned in the cemetery, as it was a private funeral and obviously private for the ashes to be taken by the family, so we don't really know whether the ashes are there, but my betting is that they probably are, because obviously his late wife did stay in the area a fair few years after his passing. But if I mention the name John Aubrey Conway Aworth, MBE, would that name ring any bells to you? Now I'll give you a few seconds to sort of think about that, or even go away and Google it. But anyway, he was born on the 19th of February 1896 in Rochdale in Lancashire, and he was born into a theatre family. Basically his father was a theatre, and I think his mother did a bit as well in them fields and stuff like that. But he also went to school with Gracie Fields, who, as we know, is another famous actress and Rochdale lass. Anyway, passed away on the 31st of March 1984 in Colwyn Bay. Well, actually, he passed away in Llandudno General Hospital of kidney failure. But he lived over this side of the world, shall we say, at Overley Avenue, in Croyland's house, which was his own house, in De Gamway, Llandudno. But it's mainly with John's life that we sort of more know him for one particular programme, which is quite famous, but we'll get onto that in a minute. But just other interesting facts about John's life. Obviously, as I said, he worked in theatre, selling programmes in the early days, also played parts in the theatre and played along with his father. In 1915 he went to war, and he was in the Lancashire Fusiliers and saw action in Belgium and France. Luckily he came back, and when he came back he carried on working in theatre, and actually ran the local theatre in Colwyn Bay, which at the time, I think he made reference in later life to say that he played a lot of the parts himself, because basically there wasn't a lot of men around because of the war, and he played a lot of parts and even ended up playing Humpty Dumpty apparently in some of them. But yeah, in 1926 he was offered the part on the stage play Dracula, and obviously carried on doing a lot of work over in the Colwyn Bay and Wales area, which was close to his heart. Obviously in 1926 we believe he married his wife, and in 1930 they had the child John, should I say John Jr. And obviously this was the area where John loved, and this was the area where he did a lot of work for charity and stuff. When he was working in London in later times in life, obviously he had a flat in London, and he had a suite in Manchester at the Midland Hotel. Now that brings you a bit closer to the part where he's more famous for, that we know him for. But in 1947 John was one of the first people televised at Alexandra Palace, and in 1951 he starred in his first major film, which was The Man in the White Suit. People might know that of an older generation, but then again in 1954 he starred in Hobson's Choice, which I think a lot of people now will be sort of thinking, I've got an idea who this guy is. But it was 1960 that sort of turned our heads towards him, and knowing that who this guy really was, when he got the part as Halbert Tatlock in Coronation Street on the 6th of December 1960, and obviously was Ken Barlow, William Roach, his uncle. Now obviously he was in apparently 1,700 episodes. So starred along and was always the grumpy man. Now, you know, I remember growing up, Albert Tatlock, Ena Sharples and all them, they were just the old grumpy people in the snug in the Rover's Return, And you know, but apparently Jack was nothing like that in real life. You know, he portrayed a lot of that in some of the other films. He was the same character, that same old grumpy man, but in real life he was pretty much, you know, a nice down to earth chap. Did a hell of a lot for children's charities and charities in the Colwyn Bay area and surround, and had a lot of time for a lot of people, so I believe. Now obviously sadly, Albert Tatlock, Jack Howarth, John Aubrey Conway Howarth MBE, whichever we want to call him by, we obviously know that was his real name, passed away on the 31st of March 1984 in Llandudno Hospital due to kidney failure, surrounded by his wife and son John. Now, as we said, we know the funeral was definitely held here, and we know the ashes were collected by the then what's the word I'm looking for? the people who, not the family. It wasn't collected by the family, we believe. It was actually collected by the funeral parlour on behalf of the family. Now, obviously, I don't know where these ashes were scattered, but as I said, I would imagine that they would be in here. But as this area meant so much to him, but then again, we don't know. We will look for more information regarding that and regarding other, you know, his late wife and that at a later date, but we don't know about that. Now, just some interesting facts about John. Obviously, he was once in the Guinness Book of Records for 76 years of acting and in stage play and radio, and obviously television. I don't know if he still holds that record. I don't know. Now, someone will probably tell me differently, but I know at the time he was that. He also apparently bought his wife so much jewellery it had to be kept in a bank. You know, now again, you know, this is sort of hearsay kind of thing, and quite a lot of people say this is what was right. Now, but apparently he was a very generous man and did, as we said before, did a lot for charity and a lot in the local area and community and stuff like that. So I wanted to take you back to, you know, to this, because obviously, you know, a lot of people, older people that watch Coronation Street will remember Albert Tatlock. You know, a lot of the younger generation probably won't, because obviously a lot of the characters now have gone. You know, there is a few there from day one, but well, I think there's only William Roach there from day one, but pretty much there is a few older ones from when people have been, you know, over the centuries, should we say? Oh, not centuries, over the decades, should we say? But Albert sort of was a lovable character, even though he was always moaning and grumpy, and you know, and along with Ina Sharples would have made a cracking double act in later life. But yeah, R.I.P. to him. You know, he was a great actor, and like I said, did quite a lot of stage and a lot of TV and playwrights and stuff like that. He was quite active in his career and quite active with charities and stuff like that. So it was only right we sort of come down to the cemetery and, you know, just sort of pay our respects and do a little video regarding him. As we walk out, I will do a scan round of the cemetery, so you can have a nosy round. Again, like I said, there isn't anything in here that states that he is here, so don't all go rushing down to say, well, you know, let's go and see his grave. But obviously, you know, his ashes, I'm convinced, would be in here, but then again, I'm not 100% sure. So I'll now do a scan round, and you can have a bit of a nosy round to look. As you can see, it's a lovely day today, and it's quite a big cemetery and goes quite far back. We will take you for a little walk. Obviously that's the chapel. We'll take you for a little walk round towards the Garden of Remembrance, which is probably, if anywhere, I would imagine, where they would have been scattered. But I spoke to bereavement services here, and they checked the records kindly for me. They obviously found the information that yes, the funeral was held here, and the ashes, yes, was collected by the funeral directors on behalf of the family, and it was down to them on what they decided they wanted to do with them. Now obviously, because John was connected to a lot of areas in London because of acting, and obviously in Manchester with Coronation Street, then they could be scattered anywhere. They could have been scattered around there, or in many a beauty spots that there is in Wales, which could have been close to his heart. As we can see, it's a lovely cemetery, and the garden of remembrance there. Again, it would have been nice to have had somewhere where we could have said our paid our respects, if you know what I mean. But as you can see, he definitely came here in 1984, which is 40 years ago. You think, 40 years ago. Albert Tatlock, Jack Howarth, John Aubrey Conway Howarth was had his funeral and was not laid to rest, but sort of basically had his service. But anyway, we're going to be doing more of these videos, so please tune in, and if you've got someone that you want us to try and look for, or sort of try and pay homage in the cemetery to them, then please contact me. Thank you very much.